watching the #1 YouTube live stream, hosted by David Osler, Aron J. Anderson. Get the latest in photography news, gear talk, tips and tutorials. We are here. We are live behind the photo. Learn, grow, share.
We're live.
You mean the graphics are done already?
Yeah, they're done.
Oh man, I'm behind. Hey everybody, who's
now
who's on video?
I can hear. So, oh, hang on, it might be me over here. Let me check. Yeah, there we are. I've got to stop that. Now we're right. Oh, I always get confused because when you watch YouTube, because you leave the volume on, the second we go live, then you start to hear that coming on, and so you've got to quickly go over and turn everything off. How are you, Aron?
I'm doing great. Everybody, thank you for stopping by our Behind the Photo show. And everybody, we're doing this live on Instagram, on my Instagram, Aron J. Anderson. On Instagram, however you find that, it's 1ARONJ Anderson. So, hey, everybody on Instagram, if you want to see this in better quality, like I just recently said before we started, go over to David Osler's channel on YouTube. Just search it. Go over there, give this video a thumbs up, and also subscribe to his channel. Next Tuesday, it'll be on mine, and you can do the same. How are you doing, David?
Really good. Well, you know, as good as can be, I suppose. I just wanted to thank everyone for their support from yesterday. It was a very emotional thing that I had to do with, you know, to sort of talk like that. And I think that's the problem with guys, that we do have problems opening up. But it is, the funny thing is, today is actually a national day here where they're saying, "Are you okay?" And it's a whole thing that they're promoting all on the media and everything about asking people, particularly, "Are you okay?" if you think there's any issues, you know. And I just wanted to say, make sure that you do that, guys. You know, if you think anyone is at all depressed or worried or whatever, please ask them if they are okay. And really, that's all I want to say now. I'm not going to mention it anymore because I want to now just get back to as normal as we possibly can.
Okay.
So today's show is just going to be as normal as we always do. We've got some exciting things to discuss, and particularly if you notice, Aron's desk, there's a few things on there. But before we do that, let's see who's in the chat. We've got Langston's here, Photomix here, as well. Aaron obviously is here. He's talking to people on there. Oreo, g'day Oreo.
By the way, guys, every episode I drink coffee from a different place. Me and my wife travel. So today we're drinking it in the cup of Atlanta, Georgia. Ooh. So if you're from Atlanta, give a holler out. And I love the place, and my mom lives near it, and my favorite place to go. Okay,
lovely.
David, keep going.
Langston's just chatting as well there. Sam King is saying, thanks for the video yesterday, David. Such an important message. I hope your son is okay. Yeah, we had a big discussion last night. Still incredibly upset. I think he probably may be better once the funeral's done. It's sort of the stress hanging over that, I think. But thanks anyway, Sam. Gerald says, Aron Anderson and David Osler, hi all there. So his A7R4 is delivered tomorrow. Congratulations, Gerald. Just in time for your holiday. News. Well, he's going on holiday the day after.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. And I can't wait to hear your tell us how you like it in our Facebook group. Really excited to see that. Are you gonna take a picture of your box and post it? Because that's what everybody does now, you know.
SRM Media is saying hi. Mark said, great news, you'll love it. He's talking to Gerald there. Mark said David is last as usual. I was having trouble.
Yeah, he was fiddling with the audio.
Yeah, the problem was it wasn't only that. I used Ycast and they did a massive update, and then when you go to turn everything on, it's nothing was working properly. So sorry about that. It's a pain when things get updated.
Yeah, it sure is.
Master Stonesetter, I think it says, hello everyone. He's from Sweden. I'm here about to go to sleep since I'm heading out to Zimbabwe tomorrow. I am the Browns here. Mark has said 18 more days for Sony to come good on the A9 firmware. Yeah, I know it's getting pretty late, isn't it? But they did say September. It's late. So who else is here? Mark said 2 thumbs up, and the show has not even started yet. Oh, thank you so much, guys. We're up to 10 thumbs up. Woohoo!
Yay! 10 thumbs up. Hey, everybody on Instagram, go give us some thumbs up. We'd appreciate it.
Altrix just saying hi as well. Jeff said, I wonder if David had a... What was that? You stopped. You didn't say anything after that. Photomix
We
says
can only
digital
imagine what he meant.
I know. Photomix says digital SLRs are not dead. We're just going to have a discussion about that, Photomix.
Yeah.
Chris said, hello, David and Aron. Good day for a Corona. Well, I'll be having Coronas with you guys soon because it's starting to warm up. We've got massive fires here at the moment up in Queensland. They're huge.
A massive what?
Fires, bushfires.
Oh, wow.
What else have we got there? Andre says, my Sony A7R is coming in a few hours. Oh, it's Christmas. Lucky you. Trev said, David Osa, when you first started in photography, how long did you keep a camera body compared to now? I've always been the same, Trevor. I tend to just keep my bodies for around about 3 years max. Then I update them. Sometimes I would update them like every 2 years. At the moment, I'm sort of sitting around that 2 years time mark. It depends really. If I find the camera is good enough, like my A9 for instance, I'm not going to upgrade that for the moment. I'm going to wait quite a few months yet before I would even jump onto the A9 II if it's updated. So what about you, Aron? How long do you keep them for?
I usually switch cameras about every 2 weeks, maybe 2 months if I'm having a good day,
I nearly spat the water out.
You almost did one of those classic boo all over the camera.
I nearly
that
did.
Been funny. No, but yeah, I switch quite often, but the thing, well, we'll go into it later why I do that, and so let's keep going with the...
JP Media says, I pre-ordered the Tamron 17 to 28 2 days after the pre-orders, and I still haven't received mine yet. Oh, no, that's terrible.
Yeah,
hopefully you'll get it soon. Tamron probably are going to bring out another lens very, very soon. If I did know anything about it, I couldn't tell you. But, hopefully we're going to get that 70 to 200-ish lens coming out soon with a bit of luck.
Yeah.
So apart from that, what have you been up to, Aron, for the week?
Well, finally, we did a long bridal show over the weekend, so I did all kind of different photos and all that. But finally, this thing you guys been wanting me to review, I finally did a photo shoot with it in Old San Juan just a couple days ago. And so probably tomorrow I'm going to start editing that video because I know you guys like the looks of it, and it actually is really good. So stay tuned for that review coming up soon. And then I wanted to review those ND filters for the Pocket Osmo, but it wasn't very bright. It kind of was stormy over there in San Juan, so couldn't do that. But that's basically what I was doing, photo stuff for a bridal show thing and making little videos for advertising type stuff and reviewing that stand. So stay tuned. Probably in the next couple days, you'll see that. How about you?
Just really keeping busy, really. Trying to get a lot of stuff that's been sent to me, some editing done and things like that. I just realised that when we add full screen, we're probably not going to be able to hear each other on the online. Let me just check something there because...
Okay.
Let me go to there. Yeah, well, that's... Yeah, that...
Instagram, guys. So I'm going to sign off for you guys. I wanted to do this little quick test. Please come to Aron J. Anderson YouTube channel, subscribe to me, and also David Osler if you want to watch the rest of today's show over there. Next week it's on my channel. So I'm going to go sign off to them. I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, it does...
Thank you guys for stopping by. Let's see how we shut this thing off now.
So when we talk, let me see if I can add Aron myself with the audio into Aron's chat.
Okay, so we'll see how that works out later. Did you figure it out?
What I'll do is, when we're doing it, when I do go to your live, I'll tell you you're going to live. Now, I just won't talk while we're at it because they won't be able to hear me, that's all. So when I switch over, we're fine like this. Next time, I'll just make sure that I add another audio channel in. Then it should be right. But I don't want to play around with it now because I think it's working. And if I change something, it's going to start to play up. All right, let's go to the first story because, Aron, this is going to be all about you. So we're going to have a discussion about what's happened, why you've basically done what you've done, because I notice you're surrounded with an awful lot of boxes there that I want to get you to talk about, the reason why you've done it, what sort of happened and things like that, so let's have a really good chat about that. So I'm going to go full screen onto you.
Alrighty.
You'll probably hear me, but they won't.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's go.
Sounds good. So yeah, as you guys can see, now I've been posting in our Facebook group, so a lot of people already knew that I have a Sony again. Someone just asked David, like, how often does he keep camera bodies? Well, I change them so much because I was always looking for the perfect camera, basically. And I know there's not a perfect camera, but cameras always had just something. I'm not looking for the perfect camera. I'm looking for one that just feels right, that I would be happy with for a long time. And I wouldn't know that unless I try all these different things. Well, when the Sony a7 III came out, I got that from the Panasonic G9. I went with the Panasonic cameras for years because even though you're getting a quality hit from full frame, they were just a dream to use. But then once I used that Sony a7 III and that autofocus, and of course all the goodness of full frame, I was like, wow, that's really amazing. So got rid of everything else and went with Sony a7 III, and I loved it. There was like, the only problem I had with that Sony a7 III was that stupid little a focus point, which is gray. That's like the only really thing that bugged me about it, and that's nothing. It's not a big enough deal to get rid
Aron,
of the camera.
just to jump in, did you put the time down that we started the?
No, I didn't.
Just do it now, and I'll cross back over to you.
Okay.
Just so we
Main
know the
story.
time.
So, anyways, when we were, it's a 47. Okay. So the a7 III was just so easy to use. It was like, I'm just like shooting above my head and below, and with that eye autofocus, everything's in focus, and you got all this dynamic range and all that. The only camera system I didn't try yet from Nikon, Canon, Olympus, Panasonic, and Sony's, I had the Sony a6000, a7S, a camcorder type one, I can't remember the name, is the NEX5. I had all those, but never really liked those either. Sony a7 III, brilliant. Then someone gave me a Fujifilm camera, and I always had my eye on the X-T3. And that was the last camera system I haven't tried out. So I got it, and I loved it so much. I mean, it's really good, guys. I mean, the Fuji cameras is so, the handling of it, the build quality of it, it feels real assuring in your hand and all that. And then I got rid of my other Sony and got another Fuji camera. And as I'm using those, I just, I started for a couple months, I kept thinking like, man, if I had the Sony a7 III, I would have nailed that shot. I know it. And more often, I just found that I wasn't nailing the shot as much as with the Sony a7 III because it's just super easy with the autofocus, and the buttons just feel right for me. The Fuji did too, actually. It felt really good, actually. But something about the Sony, full frame is going to let you have that dynamic range, and all that stuff came to a point where, man, I kind of wish I had the Sony a7 III. So, right? But then I said, I'm not going to switch for that. So then I started thinking I want to get into landscapes, and I always wanted to take photos of a model, and if I needed to, I could crop into a medium shot, or if I took a full body shot, and like I do magazines, you can see some of my work back here, my magazines here, and sometimes you do like a shot like, well, you might not see there, it might be too small, but a female laying on a cot or something like that. And what if they say, we just wanted the hair piece or something for a shot, for a photo in the magazine. With 42 megapixels, you could just do that, right? With 24 megapixels, you could probably still do it, but you're just feeling like you're getting a little like, I don't know. So that's why I ended up going back to Sony, because it was just so easy. I don't know why I left it. It was brilliant. It felt great to me. And I left Fuji finally for the Sony a7R III because of those megapixels, and it feels almost identical to the Fuji, to the Sony a7 III. And then as a backup camera, I still have my little trusty old Sony a6000, which I like it because it's inexpensive. I can throw this in a bag when I do weddings or when I go traveling, and I don't even know it's there. So that's why I have that as a backup. And I can't stand having two systems, even though I would love to keep the X-T3 for video because it was 4K 60p at 200 megabits. If you're in 1080 or you're not in 60p, I can't remember, it's 400 megabits per second. It was great, but having different, and look, this is like all I have. I mean, I'm a very simple person. I don't like all these different things. And when you have something like the Tamron 28-75 and the Sony Zeiss 55mm f1.8, and this has 28, and this has this little Rokinon's 24, that's really all I ever use. If I look back at my history of photography, those are like all I use. So I can't have that, and then Fuji lenses also, and then me and David always talks about if you're doing a shoot and you want to, like, let's say this has a wide angle lens on it and you're using the other camera with more of a telephoto and you're going back and forth, you're going to have different lenses, different buttons, and everything's just different with two systems. So really it made no sense for me to have two different complete systems. That's just the way I am. So yeah, I'm all Sony now, and the cameras are really good. I mean, you have some of these Fuji people that like literally like hate you and like like stalk you and tell you how evil you are and how ugly you are and all these things. It's just a stupid camera, dude. Get over it. And really, in my opinion, the Sony I like better. I mean, that's just the point. And it does give you better image quality than a Fuji camera. It just does because it's full frame opposed to APS-C. But the Fujifilm, if you want an APS-C, I would say right now, that's probably the best one to get. Even with these new Sony cameras that came out recently, I think the Fuji still, in my opinion, is better than those because of those video features. So that's it. I don't want to keep going, David, if you want to switch.
No, look, the hate...
Okay, they hear you now?
Yeah, I pulled the screen, so we're back together. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't understand the hate either. I mean, at the end of the day, a camera is a camera, and there's no reason to hate anyone, whatever they do, you know. I don't care how many times people switch or do whatever, as long as I'm happy with what I've got myself. Really, that's all that matters. You know, when you start to get like the cult following of some people do, it just gets ridiculous, you know, and it gets nasty.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, but now, so you're saying at the moment you've only got the, what does it say? You've got the A7R,
R3, and the A6000.
A6000. So what's your plan though? I mean, are you going to get another backup full frame in case if something happens like to that, or are you happy with what you've got?
Yeah, I'm happy. When I had, man, there's a couple. Well, around when the A6000 came out, I had two of them, and I did those for weddings and love stories. I mean, that was coming from Micro Four Thirds, so APS-C is even getting you better quality out of that. So for me, A6000, I mean, the only reason, I mean, I do love, once you go with the full frame, it's hard to go back. As I found out with the Fuji, I was like, ooh, man, I just like it. I could do weddings with this all day long, except it's not comfortable to use. The battery's terrible. The eye thing, what do you call it? The viewfinder's terrible. You know, it's not very ergonomic to go do weddings, even though I did for like 8 hours. It was just terrible. So it's a backup camera. And all of my, I mean, I've been shooting, I had cameras in my hand since I was 14. And I've never had a camera malfunction on me or break. So for me, it would be quite odd if my main camera died, but even if it did, I'm happy taking photos with the A6000. It's good quality. I think when cameras get older, people assume that it's just, you know, oh my gosh, my camera's outdated. And no, why? I took photos of it before when it was new and everybody loved it, and I could take photos of it now, and nobody's gonna ever say, oh wait, did you use that A6000 that I seen you had on YouTube? So for me, yeah, it's A6000 is fine. I don't think nothing will happen with this. If it did, I'm happy using that as a backup.
So what lenses are you using, Aron, again? So you've got the Tamron 28 to 75.
Yeah, the same ones as I had with the Sony A7 III. The 28 to 75, man, this is just bread and butter right here. This is like, I mean, the size of it, the cost of it, the weight of it, the close focus, that's the main thing. You know what? Actually, when people were telling me when I had the Panasonic G9, right when the Sony A7 III came out, people were saying, Aron, you got on my YouTube channel, you got to try the A7 III, because followers of mine knew that I didn't like Sony before, and this is different. They fixed all this stuff. I'm like, I like my Panasonic G9. And then I kind of started looking over there, but then I looked at the lenses are huge, like the G Master lenses. I think they had G Master at that time, but they were big and heavy and expensive and all that stuff. So that really said, nah, I'm not going, because I like my smaller type gear. And then they announced this bad boy, and someone said, hey, look at this lens, you might like that. And then once I saw that, I looked at my G9 and says, I think I got to go over to Sony, because now you got a full frame camera that's about the same size as the G9, maybe a little smaller even at Panasonic G9. And now the lens is like about the same size as my 70 to 200-ish type lenses on Panasonic. And I like those longer lenses because you're trying to get as much bokeh as you can, so you zoom in as much as you can and back up as much as you can. But with this on full frame, it's small, lightweight. It's just really amazing. But the one thing I don't like about it is it's 28, not 24. And I don't. If we were to go on my Lightroom and put like what lenses do I use, or focal length, or whatever you call it, like search, it's always around. It's funny, but even with zoom lenses, even with the Sony 24 to 105 when I had it, it was always around what was it, like 49 to 63-ish.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like almost all my, it's always around there. I'm like, wow, look at that. It's just my eye and what my artistic thing sees is that focal range. So this fits perfect, except I like to get low on models and shoot up or high and get the distortion that you get with 24 millimeters, like this Rokinon 24 millimeter f2.8, that you don't quite get with 28.
That is that
I find
APS-C though. That other one that you're showing there.
No, they're all
they're full frame. Well, that's
Everything's,
fine. So you have
yeah.
got a 24 if you need it.
Yeah, they're all they're full frame, on the A7R3. And that was the only thing I missed from this was 24. Even though I don't shoot a lot with 24, when I want that distortion of 24 by getting close and looking up or down or whatever, I need 24. So that's my Rokinon. And then I'm filming on the Sony Zeiss 55 millimeter f 1.8. That is my favorite lens of all time. Over my history of YouTube, I always would say, "Ooh, this lens is amazing. That lens amazing." And I have like a top 5. And after this round with the Sony A7R3, it's my favorite lens of all time. It's so sharp that a lot of the photos that I've been posting, I don't even tell people and nobody even questions it. It's when you say you did something, people call you an idiot. And that is, I use crop mode, 35 millimeter crop mode in camera when I want, not necessarily just to get headshots, but sometimes at 55 millimeter, which I like. If I was in control here, I would show you a photo, but just try to figure this out. So 55 millimeters has a certain focal field of view. Well, sometimes there's like, oh, okay, I want this shot right here, but I can see too much over there. So by putting that in 83 millimeters, which is that crop mode, your field of view gets narrow. So now it's like, ooh, that looks great. So I don't do a lot of that.
You can
but when
share
I
your
need
screen
it,
though, Aaron. Remember, you can share it through Skype.
oh, I can share it.
Yep.
Let's see if I have it here.
Now, just while Aaron's trying to work that out too, the
Yeah.
other thing too with something like the Tamron as well, do you still have your 35 macro? Have you still got that? Or did you sell that?
No, yeah, I got rid of that to get all this other stuff here,
yeah.
and I've been using this.
I was going to say, you can,
'cause you said it.
particularly
You said
with
it. I took your
something
advice.
like an A7R3 where you've got that resolution, the Tamron can get close enough where you can shoot macros. And I'm shooting the bride's rings and everything like that with often just the Tamron because it can get close enough. Look, it's not 1-to-1, but it is pretty amazing how close you can actually get with that, particularly if you have something like an R3 or something like that as well. Did you work it out, Aaron?
Yeah. Let me see if I know how to share this thing. Oh man, I can't see that. Where's that share button? Give me 1 second.
Because I think
no,
it's
it's down
down. Where was it?
It like switched on me. Oh, here it is. No, what the heck happened? They changed it, David.
Oh, you know what? I can't even seem to find it either because there used to be a share switch.
Boy.
Oh, mongrels.
Oh, show. Hey, they don't have it no more. Oh, here, share screen. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna go share it right now, I think. Can you see it?
Yep. There you go.
Okay, so this is the perfect example. This was my wife and our friend here, and I wanted to, when it comes to crop mode in camera, I wanted to, first of all, I tried 55 because that's just where I'm going to shoot it at, 42 megapixels, nice and great, right? But
Updating through the thing, so I can see it, but no one else can. That's weird.
oh, no one else can see it.
Yeah, let me just.
Do they see me?
Yeah, you're still there, so it's not switched.
Let's see if I have to go share. Why'd they change this on us?
Oh, I don't know. They updated that the
Start
other day
sharing.
as well. That's a Microsoft thing.
Gee.
No, it doesn't work. Oh,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, you disappeared. Now you're back, so I don't know what went on there.
Dude, this is like so weird. It says stop sharing.
Oh. Well, that's crazy because it didn't change. It didn't update on the screen at all. It actually just stayed as you were.
Share screen. Share computer sound. Oh, it's okay. I shared it again. Anything?
Nope, it's still just showing you.
Well, I see the red square around my. It is sharing it to somewhere.
So, guys,
I see that, like,
just let us know in the chat because I'm just curious whether it's.
I think it's sharing, David. Photo. People just laughing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So nobody's saying it. Well, let me just click stop sharing, and that's really a bummer. So why would that be? Well, let me just explain myself then. When when you're shooting 55 millimeters, I forget where I left off. You have a field of view of whatever, right? Well, in a specific shot, there's too much junk on the side. I didn't want to see it. So by just putting it in a crop mode, I was able to, narrow that field of view, and then I was able to get the shot without all the clutter on the side. And because it's 42 megapixels, I'm still having 18 megapixels. And a lot of photos I don't print. I mean, almost all my photos I don't print. And when I do print for magazines like you see in the back, I mean, what is that, like 10 megapixels or 8 megapixels are probably fine for that. So using crop mode on the 42 megapixels just makes you feel better because you're still at 18 megapixels. So that's the other way. I don't know where this left off, but oh yeah, so the Sony Zeiss became my favorite lens of all time, and that I can do that on this camera just stepped it up a notch for me. We're on the Sony a7 III. Although you can use crop mode, you're still, you just feel like you're really kind of chomping the quality out of stuff.
Now,
so,
what are you doing though if you need something wider though, Aaron, than that? Like so the widest you're saying you've got at the moment is 24. Is that correct?
I have not had anything wider than 24 in probably 11 years.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so I've been tried and tested. I've been doing this so long that I really know what I used. I think the widest I had was maybe a 12 millimeter. No, but see, that was on Micro Four Thirds, which is 24. Yeah, 24. I've never had anything wider, really.
Oh,
so
there you go. I mean, you only know how you shoot, so that's one good thing to check. Like check in Lightroom and have a look at what lenses you're actually using. And
that's what I did just recently.
Yeah, and you will find it will give you a guide about what lenses probably that you may be able to get rid of if you're not using them. Because if they're not being used, really, you're probably better off to get rid of them and get something else that you will use.
Most people, when they use zooms, most people, like at least that's what you hear about, most people either use it all the way, zoomed out or wide, It's just kind of one of the things. And that's what I was doing on Micro Four Thirds. No matter what lens I had, I'd always get the longest prime, or because I usually shot primes, or zoom in all the way just to get as much compression to get more background blur out of Micro Four Thirds sensors. But now on the Sony full frame in general, I can use 55, and I just love it because it just walking with my feet, I can just get up and get 2 people in a shot, or get back and get 5 people in a shot, like really quick, and not have to go so far. And I have some videos doing a review of the cheaper Sony 50 millimeter f1.8, how I use that for entire photo shoot with models, just that one. And it's like, after that, I was like, man, and then I looked at my metadata, and it's like between 49 and 62. That's like where I usually use it. So
do you
this
think,
is all I really need.
I mean, I know so you're doing commercial video, you're doing obviously all the jewelry stuff in the magazines and all that sort of stuff. What if you got a wedding though? Do you think you would have enough lenses to shoot a wedding, or would you then need something wider?
Well, no, I've done plenty of weddings actually with nothing ever wider than 24.
Yep.
That's what's weird when I hear people say they need more than 24. I don't know why. Everybody shoots their own way, but I've never. I mean, you can't share my screen. I would show some shots of churches, not even big churches, and like 24 is like, wow, that's wide enough. I just don't feel like I ever needed any more. I've never had a client say, oh man, can you get something wider? I mean, and I've been doing this for so long, so 24 is just absolutely wonderful for me. 28, actually, when I have 28, I don't feel like I need anything wider to get more in my scene. I just like 24 for the effect of that, the distortion you get with 24. That's the only reason why I even have 24. 28 would probably be plenty for me. But when I do those low shots, it's like
it all comes down really to how you shoot and what you want to do. Like I said, I'm like you. I mostly use the 28 to 75. That sticks on one camera the whole time. But sort of occasionally, for instance, if I'm doing a group shot after the wedding, they now sort of tend to demand group shots where they do the whole people that are in the church, and then I have to sometimes go to my 10 to 18. I have to open that right up to get everyone in. So there's sometimes, but see, I'm doing weddings a lot. The other thing too, sometimes I like to do is I like to occasionally use a wide angle. Say for instance, if a bride is standing against a window and the room is fairly small, I like to get down really, really low and open the 16 to 35 and open it up to 16 to get this sort of a look which is really different in the fact that you make her look incredibly tall and long, and it looks quite statuesque, I suppose you could say it. But I don't use the wide stuff very much at all now, but I do use them occasionally. But like I said, you would know how you shoot, and if you feel like 24 is all you ever need in that regard, well then, like I said, you only know yourself how you shoot. I personally couldn't do without a wide lens because I use it occasionally, but I don't use it a lot. It's just there.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that. Yeah, and like I said, I can only I did it since I was for so many years and just never. I mean, I did short films and just everything and just never had that. But those distortions you were talking about is the reason why I like the 24. I feel if it's any wider, it can get the way I shoot low and whatever. It can get like too crazy. Where for me, 24 just fits it perfect for those type of shots where I use that lens. But other than that, I went around in Europe. It's on the camera. I went around into Europe last year. I've said this so many times. The first time for 30 days with just the Sony Zeiss 55mm and this Rokinon. And I can't show you guys, but you can go to my aronjanderson.com and you can check the folder. They were all shot with that. And then the second time I went with the Tamron. And I could do either way. I could take this or those. It's like it completely fulfills my needs for my photography. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like I say, no one ever uses really the same gear. I mean, a lot of wedding photographers will use that 24-70, 70 to 200, and the 16 to 35, they'll use those three lenses. Where if I now probably could shoot most of my weddings, I use the 24 G Master. I use that a lot. That usually stays on one camera. I then have the 28 to 75 on another camera. And then I'll switch between. I used to use the 70 to 200 quite a lot, but now I'm tending to use the 135 for those impact shots. And I haven't. It's funny because I was talking to Kerry about it, and even Ben the other day, who was at the wedding with me, that I haven't touched my 70 to 200 now for probably 2 months, because since I've got that 135, I love that lens so much that I don't touch the 70 to 200 anymore. And the other lens that I tend to use still a bit, though, is the 85 Batter. I love that 85mm focal length as well. And I've got the same lens as you too, Aaron. The 55 I adore as well. And I love that for video. That's one of my favourite video lenses. It's just gorgeous, that lens. So sharp, focuses so quickly. It's tiny.
Yeah.
It's a perfect lens on a Sony camera, So, I mean, I may take a stock take soon myself and start to look at what I don't use anymore. I mean, I did get rid of the 16 to 35 because I kept that one. What did I get rid of? Because I kept the 16 to 35. I can't remember. I got rid of a couple of lenses just recently that I just wasn't using. Oh, yeah, my 35 1.4 I got rid of, and I never ever thought that I would get rid of that. But when I got the 24 GM, I found that I wasn't using the 35 much anymore at all. So I got rid of that, and I'm probably glad I did, because I may get a better one somewhere down the track. But I may go through a stock take too and just check what I'm using and, try and offload some of the things that I did. Because in a way, I'm so envious of you traveling so minimalistically, that you've got that and you're happy with what you've got. Whereas when I look at what I've got, it's half of the time I do still take way too much, I think. And, that's something I do have to try and, do a stock take on what I use.
Well, this is it right here, guys. This is the Peak Design 10 liter, and that's why I was happy when I got this into review, because it goes right underneath here. And with my minimal gear, I've been doing this for years and years, that I could literally, and I did literally, get every shot, whether it was a music video. I've done several music videos, to corporate videos, and these are the focal lengths I've always used. So yeah, it's really, if you really want to minimize, I know a lot of people who don't, they just like to have all this stuff. But when I'm out there and I can just have a 55 millimeter on there and just move my feet and now use that in body crop mode or whatever, it's quite amazing to do that. And then, like you said, David, the Tamron, you said that you use this for macro shots, and I did it with extension tubes when I had the Sony a7 III. But then I said, you know what happened with that the Sony 30 millimeter f2? What is that now? I don't remember. The APS-C macro lens. What happened was it's a 1-to-1, which is great.
It's an f3.5, I think.
3.5. Yeah, it is. When I got close to the jewelry, of course, the closer you get any lens to something, it's going to deform. That's why when you zoom out and you get further away from your subject, you see less deformation or whatever we call that. And when I get close to the jewelry, it's like to fill the frame up, I got to get so close where it starts looking really weird. And now there's no light getting on front of the diamond of the jewelry because the camera's there. And for that, you would need to have little ring lights, and then you're getting into all this other stuff, but then it deforms the jewelry or the product. So what I started doing is moving the ring back, and then I was like, okay, if the ring's way over here and I'm shooting over here, I'm not 1-to-1 no more.
Yeah.
What would happen if I used this in crop mode at 28, and I was at the same exact distance as that? So I'm like, oh my gosh, so I don't need that one no more. So I got rid of it to get some of this stuff, and now I use that for my jewelry photography. Now, if a client says, hey, we want to blow up a big piece of jewelry, which someone did contact me to do, I will probably rent a dedicated macro lens for that specific thing, because nobody ever hires me to do that. Usually it's just like for magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
So for that, I'll probably get the Sony 90 millimeter, but only rent it because it's very rare that I blow up something that large, and 42 megapixels would look amazing.
Are you finding that you're using crop mode much, or are you tending to shoot full frame and then just crop in post?
No, that's I was going to do a video on that. I don't use crop mode much. It's like my 55 millimeter. I use that actually more than this. I did a whole wedding with just the 55 millimeter and the Rokinon, and it's just like it was just such a joy to use. What'd you ask me? I lost my train of thought.
Mode much.
Crop mode. I only use it in those specific cases where my 55, in order to get some garbage, to narrow that field of view, where 55 is too large, and if I get too close, it's just I see the garbage or whatever is not I want in my composition. Then I'll use the Super 35 mode. I don't do it to like get more reach or to get closer to somebody. I would just walk. Now, if I'm going to do a headshot, then I would probably put it in Super 35 mode, like these magazines. You see the size of those. If I put that super, super sharp Sony Zeiss 55 millimeter at f5.6 or f8, because you want the jewelry and everything in focus, that's going to be so sharp at 18 megapixels that is, way plenty for magazines like that. Just like over the top. It's like this big, and you're shrinking it. So yeah, I'll use 55 all day, crop mode if I have to, all day long. There's something else I was going to say about that, but I can't quite remember.
Well, the other thing too is that, and this is the benefit of, say, the R4 and also the R3 that you've got, is you have got a really good crop mode. You're getting two cameras basically for the price. That's one thing now I miss, that I got rid of my R2. So I do miss that. It's amazing to have just and then, incremental, focal lengths. Again, I can't show you guys examples, but I did a photo shoot of my wife for a magazine. She was sitting in a chair, and we had this beautiful wooden bookshelves behind her, and we were there doing another magazine shoot like 2 weeks before. So when I saw this, I go, we got to come back here and do your magazine photo shoot here, because there's a beautiful window light, and I'm not going to use any flashes. That's my dog barking. And so what happens if you have the 24, it might be too wide, and if you get too close, it looks weird. And then if you have a 55, it might be too close, and you can't back up like this specific space we were in. So you can use crop mode to kind of get you there, but that's why this thing's so small and so light that even though I rather use my 55 for everything that I could use it for, I can pull this out of the bag and get all those incremental focal lengths to finish the job that one of these might be too wide, or even crop mode might not use. So that's how I use these three together. And as far as crop mode's concerned, because so many people told me on my on some posts, they say, why don't you just shoot wide and crop later in post? It's completely different, because when you're looking,
directors always use a thing called director's viewfinder, and it's basically like a lens basically. And what they do is they'll set up the scene and they'll look through this with whatever focal length they want to use. So if they say, we think we want to use a 35 for this, they look through this and go, no, give me something wider. So they change these different viewfinders to see what focal length they want to use to get whatever emotion across they want to in the film. So they always do, stuff like this. And why do they do that? Because if you just shoot wide, it's different than when you crop in camera and you see it, because there's a thing called parallax where if I'm just shooting wide like this, I'm going to, like, let's say this is the shot down here, but wide it's like, ooh, I better be up here like this. But then the shot really should be down here with more of a telephoto. And if you're cropping in post, you shot here, it's not the same, it's not the same angle of view and all that. So doing crop mode in camera gives you that parallax, because if you just move a little bit, parallax is when something's near you, in the middle, and behind you. The things behind you move slower, the things in front of you move quicker. So by having the proper focal length, you can just see the parallax and get exactly artistically what you want, where just shooting wide and cropping, it just doesn't work. You can if you want, but for me, I'm very picky about my composition, so I thought I would add that too.
I wonder too, I noticed too on the top of Skype there that it actually says that Aron is recording the call. I wonder if that's what's stopping you sharing your screen. Not sure. We'll have to have a look at it once we end the broadcast. We'll play around.
But they can hear me, or am I talking to nobody?
No, you're fine.
They can hear me though.
Yep,
okay.
Yeah, you're fine. But it could be that perhaps it's maybe because you've clicked on something that's recording this. So I'm not sure. All right, well, let's go on to the next story anyway. Well, congratulations, Aron. Anyway, I see now you've stopped it. Now just try for a second. Just see if you can share your screen just for a second. I'm just going to see if it updates.
Let's see. Let me go to something that's not. How did I do that? I don't know why they switched this.
It changed. I can't even see it now, which is interesting.
Share screen. Okay.
So let's see.
I'm sharing. There's that red box around my screen.
Nah, it doesn't work, Aron.
It still doesn't work.
Nope.
Hey, I've left my photos that we're going to share in your Dropbox.
Okay, I'll have to open that up. We can have a look. All right, anyway, let's go to talk about the first story that we're going to go through now, which is talking about Instagram. It's quite funny if you want to put the time in, Aron.
Yeah, I got it.
It's talking about what turns good photos bad on Instagram, and it's a crack up. Like when you're looking at this, let me just switch over to here. So this is the story. It says why good photos turn bad on Instagram and photography groupthink. Now, we're not going to go over the whole thing, but we'll actually show you some of the things that it's talking about. What I think it's saying is that everyone seems to find good spots on Instagram, and they'll do the exact same shot, because it's interesting what this guy has found. Like when you look at them, that everyone is standing on their car, if you look through here, doing almost the exact same pose. So it's quite interesting how something becomes a trend, and instead of trying to find something that looks completely different, they follow the rule of everyone else. They said another one that's really common is girls in like these leggings.
Tights, leggings.
Yeah, which makes you laugh too when you look at that. So that's another one that tends to pop up everywhere. Girls with the hats was another massive one here as well, that you can see there that they're all looking out into the distance wearing the hats. There was another one there, I think that's trees from above, which is using drones. Yeah, with similar things. But, it's interesting to think that, wow, when things trend, everyone seems to follow them instead of trying to think of something that's new and stuff like. Really, that's sometimes why I get bored when I start to look through sites like Instagram and stuff, because they all tend to look the same, Aron. I mean, have you found that?
Yeah, well, of course we all follow trends. You live in a certain era and you follow trends. You just can't get away from it. But I try my best. If I see a trend, it's like, okay, I'm not going to shoot that, You might start shooting something, but then all of a sudden, like, okay, now I do see the trend, and you just stop. But I never went after trends. I try not to. That's the other thing we were talking about a while ago is I get a little bored with some of the YouTube channels kind of shooting the same thing. Now, I don't do a lot of behind the scenes just because I'm so quick and I don't do it. But I kind of do the same thing on several of my videos. But that is just like having a camera there and having a model there, and it's just like this. Get down a little bit. Okay, yeah, that looks great. Okay, yeah, look over that way. Oh, that looks amazing. It's just like it's so boring to watch for me, and it just seems like that's a trend in YouTube of if you want to be a YouTuber and a photographer, set up a camera and film yourself shooting a model. And it's just always kind of like, let's do something different. And someone just recently did something very different, which Manny Ortiz, I was watching his video, his newer one, and oh man, that was really exciting because he was in New York. You could clearly see he has his own video guy that's editing for him because it's all this cool graphic and stuff. And that just like, wow, that really sang a song to me because now it's just cool and he's kind of being funny now and stuff. So that's the way it should be, where everybody before, and his channel too a while ago was just kind of this shooting a model, kind of boring stuff. So he really picked it up on his last couple. I don't watch all his videos, but the last one or two was quite amazing. So he broke the trend, at least of his own, how he was doing things. Hopefully he keeps that up. So I think we all should try not to follow trends and just think outside the box and just do something different. Like this Instagram stuff, they were saying, there's a video on here, and that guy, he's a YouTuber, he was saying he's admitting that he was doing this just to get likes, and he didn't really want to take the photo. He said, but this is what gets likes. I mean, I do love my likes, and I love people like my artwork, but I'm not going to just do something that people just like a trending type thing. If I'm not in that bandwagon, so be it, I guess. But he was saying that he got caught up in taking photos just for likes, not artistically for his own pleasures. Yeah,
I know. It's hard for us all, I suppose. It's hard to sometimes think outside the box, but let's look at the next story because this one is lessons from my first photography trip, and there's some funny things about this and some interesting things about this that I've made mistakes on myself when we're looking at them there. And like I said, I'll put these links down below if you want to have a look at them. Yeah. But they're saying what he did right, like planning ahead, went at the right time. Obviously, you research the time that you get there, brought the right gear. Things like USB chargers and batteries and things like that. Got the right bag. I've made mistakes with that myself sometimes. I've had too much gear and it gets pretty bad fairly quickly when you when you have to carry around too much stuff. Now, what he said that he didn't do well enough, and we probably have all gone through this, he said, I didn't plan well enough. I missed the fact that a couple of places I was going to charge parking fees. So I didn't have enough cash on me and had to go elsewhere. In other words, he didn't carry cash. But I've made this mistake. I got a smaller bag after hiking all day. I mean, I have, when I used to go to Thailand, when I originally went, Kerry used to laugh at me, and because I had about 4 bags that I'd be carrying with different lenses, cameras, everything else, and you just think, like when I did a world trip I did where I went to England, I went to France, I went to Italy, Venice and Rome, and then we went to the US, New York, and Vegas and Paris, Vegas and LA. I carried, I think, 2 of my big bags that I carry, the massive ones that I carry.
Think tank.
Yeah, think tank bags full of stuff. And like I think now, how on earth did I ever do that? Now, if I went now, I think I'd take one backpack and make sure I only take the one camera, or maybe say the A6400 as a backup camera, and a couple of lenses, because I just don't want to be doing that anymore.
Oh man, yeah, I'm telling you.
And like I plan too many locations. This can also be a problem too if you don't leave yourself enough time to really explore. And this is why I've never been, and you guys may love it, I don't know, but I've never ever wanted to go on a bus tour where you're with all these other tourists and I laughed when we went and did that around the world trip. Like we stopped at Venice and we stayed there, and I laughed at all the tourists coming in on the buses and boats. They'd all walk in, like 100 of them together, following a flag. It's usually the Asians that do this. I don't know why, but it seems to be an Asian thing. But they were carrying a flag at the front. They come through, spend about, I'm not joking, probably 30 seconds in each spot, and then they'd all move away again like sheep. And that does my head in, because if I see something I love, I want to stay there and take photos of it and stuff. So not leaving yourselves with enough time is a real problem. What do you think about all this, Aron?
Well, you can see laid out in front of me, I can't see myself because I don't have my OBS, but This is literally what goes in my bag when I travel. It goes in my bag when I do photo shoots. I do have a bigger bag. I mean, I'll be honest. I've got, more light stands and other flashes, but like this is like my go-to that like most of the photos besides a wedding or a magazine shoot, this is all I take with me. And so when you say that, David, about all that gear, I'm like, oh my gosh, my head would spin. Now, I don't know if, are you able? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just explain what you've got, because I'm switching to you on the full thing.
Okay. So this is it, guys. Like, I got a blower when you're, if I'm just shooting with the Tamron, I don't need this, but I like my prime. So I just got this blower. I've got the A6000 with the Rokinon 24mm, which I probably don't even use this camera. I just have it on here to show you guys. I got the Tamron. I've got a flash holder with an umbrella thing in there if I use umbrella. Got my what is that called? The Osmo Pocket. I've got the Godox flash trigger, and I've got like this little f-stoppers thing to to soften up the light a bit. Sometimes I'll use smaller umbrellas, and that's like it. I mean, that's literally. And then of course I told you guys my this. Now also what I have in here is an extra battery for the Sony, which I loved over the Fuji because I only need these, and they just run all the. And that's it. I mean, if you ever see any of my photos going up, this is the gear I use. I don't really need too much. I feel very content for the first time in my life about what I have because I researched what lenses I use, and this is it. And I feel really good about it. I've got kind of backups to everything. Of course, when I do weddings and other photo shoots, I got a big bag over there. But for the majority of thing, this is basically it. Now, as far as
here's that page. Yeah, I've got that up now.
Oh, okay. That's my page?
Your Europe trip too, yep.
Yeah, now, okay, I was going to do a video on this, but never get around to it. If you look at my photos, if David scrolls through them, you're going to notice a theme. The theme is my wife is always dressed as the background or something. When I do music videos or short films or photo shoots, whatever it is, my thing is to incorporate the background color, whether it's in a house or outside with the clothing, right? And my wife is really good at that. And we researched that before we went on this European trip.
It's like repeating patterns and repeating lines. It's repeating colors, Aron. And that's so important to get a beautiful photo.
No, it is. And Hollywood does it all the time. They'll paint the wall if they're going for that
this is perfect.
Orange teal look.
Showing the red against the... so it's got
Which
the red
one?
Ribbon, and your wife has the red dress on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And we planned that, like literally, like, hey, okay, this day we're going to be in this city, so let's go on the internet and look at what colors that the city has, and so she'll make an outfit for that. And so, going on trips, if you do this type of photography, it's all about planning. If you do landscapes, then you should go say, what's the best time to shoot the Eiffel Tower, let's say. So you have to plan if you want shots like this, because there's no way we're going to get...
So you've picked up the green dress against the green top of the building there. So you've matched that color through there as well. So, yeah.
And there's... In the middle, like right above the yellow dresses, you'll see her wearing pink. Also, there's a famous pink building. I think it's a coffee shop in Paris. It's like has green chairs. She's wearing pink with one of those little hats on, and I think I have it in there. Yeah, it's in there. There's just one. Hey, there's only one shot. There's a couple more shots. I don't know why it's not in my collection here. But the pink goes along with the pink building. The blue goes along with the blue. Do you see the... Oh, you said the green?
Yeah, the green, yeah.
Now I see. The green with the copper top, whatever. What do you call that? Oxidization of the copper building or whatever. Yeah, it's all planned. I mean, that's... Every photo shoot I do is like this. And so it's you got to plan. You got to plan your lenses, and I've done that. I can fit all this in my bag, and... the other thing, what we did on this, we've been to Paris several times, but on this photo shoot, I looked up what's the best places to shoot in Paris. And so I found a blog that said, ooh, this is a good shot. So what I did was I found the name of it. I searched Google Maps or whatever, and then I took a screenshot of it. and then I marked where our hotel's going to be, and I drew like a line from there to there type thing, or I let Google do it or whatever. And then I actually put those on my phone. So when we went to Paris, I say, hey, today's Wednesday, we're going to do that one shoot with the blue dress, whatever, and that's these, and I put it in folders, blue dress, Paris, day 2, whatever. And then I have the maps. So we can, it's just, I mean, it went so easy. There's no way I'd get all those shots.
And then you've got the yellow against the yellow of the trees and stuff like that were all in the background.
Oh, Hallstatt, yeah. It's a beautiful place.
It's repeating, and it's funny because not many people really think about that. But you know how we always say, look for leading lines, and this is one thing that is really important for people to understand. Like you look for repeating lines. It's like if you have... say a statue, if you have repeating statues, it becomes much more interested, like piers, things like that, because it forces your eye to come down. Well, it's exactly the same thing with color as well. If you have repeating colors and it matches into what the environment is, it's a much more interesting look than what it would be if they didn't have that repeating color. And it's just good. It's really it's just good basic art, and that's the thing that you have to understand about that. So it's interesting. I mean, it's good when you sort of bring that up, Aron. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yep, it's all about planning. And what was this say? The lessons from my first photography trip. What lessons did I learn? Probably just what we just talked about. Plan everything, where the sun rises and all that stuff, and best time of day for photography to shoot, and not take so much gear, because then you'd be so bogged down. When I have too many lenses at times, man, it's just like, which lens I don't even want to deal with it. I have my 55 millimeter. That's what I go for, or the Tamron, and you take more photos because you don't have to think about all this stuff.
Last story is the mirrorless revolution. I just thought I'd share this because it's an interesting story. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but because it's a whole article that just sort of goes on, for forever, just talking about it. But like I said, I'll share this. I'll share this down below. But it is interesting, and I think I am a believer that they're saying they're not dead yet, but they are on life support, and I tend to agree with that. I do think that, say, for instance, the Nikon D6, I do believe that's going to be Nikon's last high-end digital SLR. I don't think they'll do another one. They tend to only sort of update these every 3 to 4 years. Like, it's a big gap between.
Yeah.
I think you're going to probably find their next one is going to be, like a Z10 or something like that, or whatever. But it'll be something along the mirrorless side of things. Because clearly, if you look, there was recent sales figures came out again, and it didn't look good for the whole industry, really. But at least mirrorless wasn't anywhere near as bad as what the digital SLRs were and the point and shoot. So they really are on life support if you're looking at it, in the fact that it's older technology. Young people that are coming into the marketplace now are just buying mirrorless. I mean, if you go into a camera store now, you don't see many digital SLRs being sold anymore. I mean, I'm always in them, and you see now when you go in, the mirrorless section is massive. The digital SLR section now tends to be a lot smaller. And I think mirrorless is definitely the future. It's just the way it is, and it's the way it's going to be. And I think, unfortunately, they are on life support. I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but they're usually the same people that said film would never die, and we know what happened in that. It's still around, but it's a niche area, which I think is going to be the same. Do you have anything to add on that, Aron?
Yep, I agree. The only thing people weren't switching right away is because the refresh rate of the viewfinder, but now it's like there. Focusing was kind of bad. It's there. So I just don't see a need for it. I'm sure there's somebody that has a need for it, like long, what did they say? The Northrup say, can you buy long lenses now as you can with DSLR? So maybe there's certain people who need those sideline sports that might need those lenses, but when it comes down to it, it's just going to fade away. And like you, I think the Nikon, this was their last DSLR as well, because like you said, 3 years from now, it's going to be even more saturated with the whole mirrorless thing. So I think they're on the way out, but they'll still probably have some, but I don't think they're going to put a whole lot of effort in them if they're not selling, because everything's going. How many people make film cameras and make a living off of that? So
I mean,
I feel the same.
Just, I think it's just the way technology is going to go. I mean, like Aron said, even say 12 months ago, viewfinders were still lagging behind, but now you're starting to get these new EVFs that are basically just like looking through your optical viewfinder, and there's no delay, no blackout anymore on these new cameras like the A9. Yeah, you see.
What
Yeah,
you see is
see
what
the
you get.
exposure. I mean, I've recently.
You can punch in for a focus.
I've recently gone and shot the
I mean,
Nikon, and I really hated going back. Like once you get used to that technology,
Yeah, me too.
I hated going back, not being able to see what I was getting. I didn't like it at all.
You know, the other thing is now that I'm starting to need glasses to read, can you imagine? I can't imagine taking a DSLR, taking a photo, then trying to look at the back of the screen when your eyes are starting to fail a little bit, or if you're in bright sunlight. I mean, an EVF, you take the shot, you don't even, like when I have a group of people at a wedding or whatever it is, and I take a shot, a lot of times I don't even take it down like you used to chimp, you know. Sometimes I'll still chimp at stuff or whatever, but if it's a group, I don't want them to move, because once you take it down, they're like, oh, okay, no, get back on. You just spend all that time putting them together. So I'll take a shot like this. I'll make sure I focus on what I see is what I get. Then I take a shot. Then I'll zoom in real quick and just scroll across, eyes open. Okay, you guys, you ready? And they think I didn't take it yet, and I still take another one just in case. And it happens like this. With the DSLR, you have to look down, and then your eyes might be failing you.
Well, I have it on the 2-second review, so everything I take has that 2-second review. If you're using something like the A9 anyway, if you keep your finger pressed down, well, it doesn't have that review, so you don't have to worry about it. But I like quickly just taking the shot, having it up to my face, and then quickly take it, and then I can see instantly. And if it's perfect, I'll move on. And even last week's wedding, I had a number of comments of people saying to me, oh my God, you're so fast. Like you just take the shot and then you move on. Well, I can see it in there. They don't know that I'm doing that, but I can see it in there for 2 seconds. I know straight away whether it's okay, and then I'll move on. And I think that's a big advantage without rather having to go down chimp, press the play button to have a look.
And then they start walking away sometimes.
Yeah, so I think it's a big difference. Like the focus now is probably better. It's just as good as what you're getting with digital SLRs now. You have the eye autofocus now in the cameras, better video because you've got the stabilization, the IBIS in all the cameras. I mean, I do really think that they're living on borrowed time, and it's sad, but I mean, it's just the way it is. So, well, let's.
One thing I forgot to mention real quick, David, and this was kind of an important thing going from Fuji. If people already tuned out or whatever because they wanted to hear that, the Fuji camera is going from photos and video. In case you're interested, it's really clunky. You can't. Like with the Sony, you can put your video set up on a custom 1, 2, or 3. So if you want to take a video, you can already have it set up to the parameters for whatever frames per second, and you just click it over and start doing video. With Fuji, it's a lot clunkier than that. There's no settings, so you have to use the touch screen to change settings, and it doesn't hold the settings, so it's kind of weird. So I thought I would throw that in there because that was so important for someone like you, David, who does Fusion. The Fuji is real, unless you're just going to do video with it. But if you're going to do a hybrid between two of the same camera, it's really clunky.
That's it.
So
that's interesting to know. Which file did you want to show, Aaron, for your image? Because there's 2 there. Yeah, I've got image 4778 and 47. Okay,
Either
so
one.
It doesn't matter. I'll just choose the last one. Let me have a look.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Let me see. Okay.
I've got the one. I've got the second one down with her posing with her hands on the waist.
Okay, yeah. Show that one. Then I'll show.
Yeah, I'll go to the other. I'll go to the other one after that. So.
But don't go to the 3969 yet.
So this is the 7482.
Okay, 7482. Which one is that? 7482. Okay, so here on Behind the Photo, we always show a photo. That's why it's named that, because we kind of give you the mind behind the photo. And I'm going to have to click on that so I can see it.
She's sort of got her hands on her waist. Nice pose.
I got it. Okay, so my friend Trevor Black, who is a really good photographer here in Puerto Rico, we become friends, and he was at this event also, not as taking photos or nothing. It was a cocktail, what do you call that, runway event that you're only there if you're invited type thing. But there was a lot of people there. There were a lot of photographers there, and the shot you guys are looking at here, he wondered like, hey, how'd you get that shot? Because people were using, flash on their camera, bouncing flash. A couple of them had off-camera flash, but there's so many people, other people who were invited there taking shots with their cell phone. And this shot here, what they would do, they would come down the runway, and then a couple models would stand on these platforms, kind of like almost mannequins. So you can go over there and look at the dresses and stuff. And there's all these platforms, and all these models are now standing on these different platforms. And the lighting was not designed for a photographer. It was just kind of spotlighty type stuff. And so how I got this shot, and I was telling him, is the model was just looking at the crowd in front of her, like there's all these people taking photos and all that. But I wanted to get her, I had to hold my camera all the way as far as my hand could reach to try to get an eye level shot, or like a neck to chest type of shot, because I didn't want to shoot up her nose. It just wouldn't look good. So I held my camera real high and I kind of waved at her until she looked at me, and I pointed to my camera. And as I'm pointing to my camera, I slowly started moving through the crowd, and she was looking at until I saw the shadows hitting her face in a good way. And that's how I got that shot. So you might have all this crowd, lighting might be bad, but just try to get their attention if it's in a situation like this. You probably might not find yourself in a situation like this, but I'm going to tell you how I did anyways. So I had her follow my camera, and I kept waving her like, oh, no, don't look away. And as she's following it, she's moving, and I see the shadows, going good on her face. And when the light hit her in the right spot, that's when I said, okay, and I started taking photos, and then I said, thanks, and whatever. So that's how I got that shot. Now, David, if you want to show that other photo and why I use natural light, even though the ISO might have been high. I wish I could share my screen. It's the It's the 3969.
I've got to go back again. Files.
So in this next shot, you're going to see why I didn't use bounce flash, because it completely kills the ambient light. The shot you just saw that he showed you, they had
which one is it? The 7448?
No, 3969. There's a guy and a gal in a white dress walking down a runway type thing. Now, I took this shot specifically to show you guys that, you have a choice. You can use, and almost all the photographers are using on-camera flash, bouncing it, and that's the shots that they were getting. I mean, these people put this beautiful purple uplighting, as you've seen in my other shot. It's the same place. Yeah, very flat, and that's the shot you're going to get in that specific spot where I was standing, where all the other photographers were, elbowing each other, trying to get shots. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to take a shot to see what these other people are getting, because they can't look that great. So I took a shot with my on-camera flash, like, oh, that's terrible. So I just went with the Sony 50s, were all with the Sony Zeiss 55mm at f1.8. Trying to get as much low light as possible, because I did not want to ruin that beautiful ambient as you've seen in that other shot. So sometimes you just have to, deal with higher ISO, and you guys probably would look at those last shots and not think that they were grainy or anything. And so that's how I got the shot. I just turned off the on-camera flash, went natural light, had the model follow my camera with all this noise going on, and she did. There's actually two of the shots that I had there, and that's how I got the shot.
See, this is the exact reason why now I've stopped using flash so much in like receptions and when they do the dance and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I grab Kerry with the Pro Photo, and I light them up from the side from an angle, and then I just move around and shoot daylight exposures and get for the ambient, because see, that's destroyed everything about what the setting and mood is that's actually there, and it becomes more like a snapshot that you would use with a camera that has just the on-camera flash, the little flash that pops up.
Well, all the other photographers are doing
and
that.
It's amazing how many people do that, and I deliberately now have moved completely away from doing that. In fact, I never put my flash on the camera at all now in weddings and receptions and things like that. I'm always trying to use the ambient. If I've got to push that ISO up to 12,000 ISO or whatever, I'll go up rather than use an on-camera flash for that exact reason. And like I said, I'm lucky now that I always have an assistant, and I'll have them shining a continuous light from an angle, so it gives shape, matching the ambient temperature. I mean, look what's happened to the shadows in that. You can see the shadows blaring behind. It's terrible. I mean,
and we didn't have. And to let everybody know, we didn't have any other place to shoot that, because I know some will say, oh, you could have used it, you could have did that, you could have. No, I couldn't have did nothing, because that was the only spot I had, and I either used flash or natural light. And like those other ones, my hand was stretched all the way. I mean, I was on my tippy toes to try to get a shot, frontal shot. And I mean, all these people, I'm elbowing people in heads. I mean, it was like crazy, So sometimes you have people comment like, oh, why this and that. So I just wanted to point that out. And the same with the wedding. You can't go and say, oh, hey guys, can you step over here when they're doing their thing. You just don't have that ability. So like David said, if you have an assistant to use continuous light, which I've never did yet in photography like that, that would be ideal, because then you can get them exposed properly and still have the beautiful ambient that they I mean, can you imagine they paid all this money for all this uplighting, like this situation, and then you give your
I'm showing the other image now, Aaron. This was 7448.
7448.
It's a close up from the head to a waist.
Yeah, I did the same thing with her. Hey, look at this camera. Look over here. Oh, she can't hear me because it's so noise and loud and music. But yeah, I did it the same way because the first one worked. I said, well, I'm going to do it with the next one. So I did the same. And they're looking. I'm sure I got shots of both of them looking at me, but maybe the other one isn't. I can't remember.
Too, Jerry Guionis once showed me something which was really interesting, and he said he would never point a flash directly at the subject, and he woke me up to it because I'd never realised how strong an on-camera flash is. But he would point the flash completely away from the subject. Like if I was shooting, say, this way, he'd angle the flash that way or back or any way, and you'd be surprised how the light will still reach the subject, and you won't have that flash look of like having it direct on. And he was showing it, for examples, with a wall that was 5 meters away. And it was still lighting up the model with it facing sort of backwards, pointing. He was shooting like that, and he'd have the flash sort of pointing back like that, and it would still light up the model from that distance because it used the whole wall as a reflector at the back, and it was much nicer. But yeah, I'd be like you now. I'd tend to do exactly what you did. Have no flash on there at all. Use the ambient light that's there. Turn them so that their face and body matches that light. You've always got to remember, try and face them towards that light. Point their nose towards the light, and that's what I was doing. That's the big secret.
And that ambient shot that I showed you, there was no walls to bounce.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a big place. The only thing was the ceiling. So it's either that shot. I have other shots.
But they're adding lighting, and people should be using that. And that's what I always say. That why not use the light that's there? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and because people are afraid to raise their ISO, I mean, look at the photo of the natural light shots. No client would ever say, "Oh my gosh, that is like so grainy," unless you're like really going crazy with stuff. I mean, don't be scared to raise the ISO to keep a beautiful shot.
Yeah, people shouldn't worry about noise. Well, not nowadays with today's cameras. If you expose correctly, and you have there, if you expose correctly, noise will be minimal.
Yeah, which I did there, and it looks great, and I kept all the natural light. So that's my photo.
Show
your photo, David.
Let me just bring this over. So this is one I did the other day. I thought I'd just show this. One. Let me move this down. So this was one I shot of Annalise in the forest. This was all daylight as well. I only really could get this because I used the A9. This would have been incredibly. Oh, that's this would have been incredibly hard to do if I never had the A9, because I put it in silent shutter and I was shooting at 20 frames per second because she looks like she's floating. If you notice down the bottom there, she's actually on her toes. And Kerry said to me yesterday when she looked at this, she goes, "Oh my God, she looks like she's floating in midair." And this was only capable, and this is where it's interesting about where technology can get you. There was 20 shots in between this where it didn't have that perfect look that this had. And that one shot I was able to get because I was shooting with the A9. I originally tried with the A7, shooting at 10 frames, and I couldn't get that perfect shot. So I grabbed the A9 off, and I shot the A9 on silent shutter, and it enabled me to get that perfect moment where she was in that perfect balance. And this is a split second, Aaron, because she's moving very fast to get up in that position.
I know.
And I adore that because the light's hitting her beautifully coming through the forest there. No flashes being used here. It's all natural light in this shot. And it just shows what you can do with something like an A9 to capture that perfect moment. I asked her to do this. I said, can you, because I've now worked with so many dancers, I told her what I wanted to do and showed her what I wanted to do, and she immediately switched on. But yeah, I adore that. I adore that shot. I love it. Yeah, no, I love dance work.
Yeah, I drooled all over that because I know that I just know her being on her toes like that, and it's almost like you caught her right when she almost started coming back down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like right there. where it was like she was weightless. You could see on the dress and everything. Oh man,
I switched.
That's amazing.
Like, it was funny when I was flicking through the images. You know, you can sort of see that spot, and each one moves, and then I just took it to where she started to go down, and I went one back. That's where I say you can only get that with something like an A9. It's just incredible.
Hey, I got a question. Sony A7R3, does that, what's the frame per second and silent shutter on that?
I think it's about 8,
Anybody
isn't it,
know?
or something? I think it's 8 or 10, I think you get on that. Yeah, it's better.
And what is on the A9?
20.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
It's only 5 if you're mechanical, though, so I couldn't do this with flash. But if you go into mechanical, I think this was ISO 1000, so I had to pump up the ISO a little bit. But like I said, I don't mind doing that. And you know what? I don't care about noise. To me, it's all about the image. And if it has a little bit of grain in it, I don't give a hoot. It's more about capturing that moment and, you know, having the light streaming in. You can still see there's detail in the background. I've exposed for the highlights on her dress. So that's what I actually exposed for, because I wanted the highlights on her dress to keep detail. So that's the important thing. Don't blow your highlights. You can always bring the shadows back up, you know, and it's the technology we have now is just amazing. Also, I mean, I have to give Annalise credit. She's a beautiful dancer that's got that pose.
She did amazing.
It's amazing. So yeah, that's it.
She did amazing. Yeah, you know, the noise thing is something that everybody watching here, you're all photographers, I assume. Next time you're in a department store like Macy's or any of those big time department stores, I do this all the time. Look at all the photography that they have on all the walls from leading manufacturers. All the photos that I see, I was going to do a YouTube video on this too, but like I never have time to do all this. Most every photo you look at there's motion blur in it. It's soft, it's grainy, and you could say, well, maybe the photography didn't take it like that, but the print press did it. But my point is that those companies, those huge billion-dollar companies, they thought that with their department who does their stuff, they thought it was good enough to put on their showroom to show their products. So, I mean, noise isn't a big deal. It's only in the realm of like this photography type thing. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. How dare you do this? And all this nitpicky stuff. Just go look at people who make big bucks. Go to Macy's and just look at everything. The only time you'll probably find really pristine, noiseless photos is in like product shots or in the makeup department. You still find grainy stuff over there, but usually that's really like just like, ooh, that like perfect. But most everything, just go in the mall and just look at the photos next time, and you're going to see motion blur and all kind of stuff. So, man, I wouldn't stress over grain at all unless it's really ridiculously high.
Laughing at Jim Penn because he said, if I did that perfect moment, I would need an orthopedic surgeon. I know these dancers, they are just ridiculous in what they can do. You know, it really is just crazy. I think, I don't know whether I had the other one on there. Let me have a look. I think I did. I'll just show you this one just so you can see how flexible Annalise is. Let me just go back to here.
I absolutely love that shot, David.
So you can see there how I'll reduce this down so you can see the full image.
I have to wait for YouTube to catch up to see it.
It's the one where she's on the beach and her foot is touching her head. It's she's incredible. I mean, these dancers are real athletes. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw that.
What they can do is just honestly, it sometimes makes my eyes water. I just think.
Hey Jim, try that one. Take a selfie of you. I'd love to see it.
This was lit by flash though, because it was getting very, very dark. And Ben actually, who went with me, was holding the flash off to camera right. So she is lit up by flash here. But you know, they really are just ridiculous, and I just adore. It's one of my favorite. I have to say, it's one of my favorite things ever to shoot. Is to photograph dancers actually doing dancing, because I just adore it. It's a beautiful art form and I love it to death. So I'm lucky. I
did a ballet quite a while years ago, and yeah, it was quite it was fun actually taking shots of that, because they jump up and do those splits, or whatever you call that stuff, and these twirly things, and yeah, it's really cool. It's fun as a photographer too to try to capture that moment. And if you don't know the choreography, you're just waiting for it. Yeah, I actually enjoyed it. So
Langston said a little grain is now cinematic, which is it's probably true. And that's about it, guys. Look, we've gone for an hour and a half, so we any questions? I hope everyone has sort of answered all through the questions. If you have any questions, leave them down below, because we do. Aron and myself always answer them. Aron will be sharing this on his channel as well. And next week we'll be back on Aron's channel, so please subscribe to Aron's channel if you haven't, because it'll be live on his channel next week. We do this rotating. Hopefully we can be on at the normal time next Wednesday. We were a bit worried yesterday that there was going to be a big storm coming, and Aron was worried that Aron was worried that he'd lose power. So we decided that we'd do it today. Don't forget, guys, today in Australia particularly is Are You OK Day. That means if you do know anyone that has any issues at all, and you know what, even if they haven't, just ask them. Just say, you know, are you okay? Mates should always be aware of what other people are thinking, and mates look after mates. So please ask if you can, are you okay?
I would like to add too, just think about, like, because people that are in these situations, they will do their best, especially men. They'll do their best to hide it. Like, they might be crying in their car, and you come out like they're waiting for you, and they go, "Hey, buddy," and they'll just completely switch. There was a guy on YouTube. His name was Matt, Image of the Art or something. He killed himself last year, and it's just like, you would never know it. Of course, on front of a camera, you're completely different. But even in the people around them, it's like they'll be crying, wanting to give up, and then when the loved one or friend comes, it's like, oh, hey, yeah, everything's great. But listen to what they say, because if they're very negative about things, or if you say, hey, how you doing today, like everybody does, and they go, oh, life sucks. When they say those things, just keep more, just pay attention more, because why are they saying those little things, even though they might be laughing 1 minute, but they're saying, oh yeah, life sucks, or life's a bitch, or if they're doing that a lot, just maybe ask them, like, are you okay? Everything's fine. I'm here to talk. So yes, that's very important. All right,
so that's it, guys. So thanks so much for the show. Sorry we started a little bit late, but we had a few technical difficulties.
We made up
for it, and I'll be on tomorrow for the live Sony show, as long as there's stuff to talk about. I'll have to. Hopefully there is. I haven't checked, so hopefully there's enough that we can have a quick chat tomorrow.
Facebook group.
I mean, if there's not, check out our Facebook group. Do join this photography videography school. I'll just bring that up so people can see it.
Amazing place to go, man.
So please join us over here. Where are we? Please join us in the Photography Videography School. I'm showing that page now. Make sure you do the ampersand there, the Photography and Videography School. So join us on there. It's a great site. Apart from that, everyone, we'll see you in the next video. Hopefully, like I said, there'll be a show tomorrow for the live news and rumours show. We can have a bit of a chat there as well. All right, everyone. Catch you all, and we'll see you all for the next show. Bye for now.
See you guys. Thank you so much.
Catch you, everyone.
I would say we were good together.